Hey guys, just really quick before we get into the video, please enjoy this picture montage of my favorite all-time NBA players while I correct and clarify something that I talked about in this video quite a bit. So I actually recorded this video on Wednesday, May 8th. It is now Thursday, May 9th, and I recorded the video before Game 2 of the Knicks-Pacers series where the Knicks would win 130 to 121. So basically, I'm only going to be talking about Game 1 in this series between the Knicks and Pacers. So just keep that in the back of your head while watching this. Game 2 didn't happen yet at the time of me recording this. Hopefully you guys can forgive me. This is going to be a Game 1 recap video. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. YouTube, let's do a little Game 1 recapping in 3 specific series, and that is the New York Knicks versus Indiana Pacers Game 1, Boston Celtics versus Cleveland Cavaliers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder versus the Dallas Mavericks. I want to go through all the Game 1s and, what I think direction the series will go moving forward based off of these Game 1s, maybe some controversial calls and some dominant performances from some particular superstars. Let's get right into it, folks. So I want to start with, the New York Knicks versus the Indiana Pacers. The Knicks win in a very, very close game. A lot of people think the Miles Turner moving screen call was kind of a interesting call, let's put it that way. I might be one of those people. I'm just gonna say it. Knicks fans probably won't appreciate that. And listen, I've seen my fair share of biased calls watching the Knicks and Sixers series from both sides. The Sixers got a lot of favorable calls, the Knicks did too. Just bad officiating, whether the Knicks are the recipient or the other team. And I tweeted this out. Make sure you guys follow my Twitter, X, or whatever you want to call it, twitter.com/dehave1. I don't know if you guys are football fans, but I see a similar thing happening in football a lot. Again, I'll put the tweet on screen, but moving screens in the NBA are kind of like holdings in the NFL. The refs could technically call them on every single play. I've seen so many moving screens happen 2 times in an offensive possession that don't get uncalled. The guy just sticks out his hip, and technically that is a foul, right? But they just rarely call a moving screen. I mean, Draymond Green does it almost every possession, and they rarely call it. I've seen Joel Embiid do it almost every single time he set the screen. So it's a very selective thing with the referees, which has to be questioned of why do they only call it certain times? And certainly having the Knicks be the beneficiary of this Miles Turner moving screen is going to spark a conversation, let's put it that way. But basically it's you could call that on every possession, just like holding in the NFL. It technically was a foul, but they didn't call one on him the entire game, and a lot of people saying he was doing it the entire game. They just waited to call it until then. It's a very disappointing way to lose if you're a Pacers fan, because you were right in that game all the way to the end, and it was such a good game. But just as a fan who doesn't have a horse in the race in regards to the Knicks or Indiana Pacers, I know people are going to say I'm biased because my Sixers lost to the Knicks and I want them to lose. I really don't. I actually don't. I want the best basketball to be played and the best series possible between both sides. That's what I'm interested in. I'm just a basketball fan, right? Now that my Sixers are out, I could care less. I don't hate the Knicks, you know what I mean? The thing is, just as a fan who doesn't have a bias in this series or doesn't root for either team, it's a really disappointing thing to see a game end that way, regardless of who benefited. I just want to see, Halliburton take that last shot and see what happens. I just want great basketball, right? And so it's really disappointing, but Knicks end up winning the game. Let me know down in the comment section if you think it was kind of a bogus call. I mean, technically it is a foul, right? And they reviewed it and they still called it a foul, and the 2-minute report came out and they still called it a foul. But let me know down in the comment section what you think. Either way you slice it, Knicks really played well in that game, winning the game 121 to 117. There was obviously some other calls, the kickball violation down the stretch that hurt the Pacers and maybe were some questionable calls. But, everyone other than Tyrese Halliburton really played well in the Pacers. And you got to wonder, if you're a Pacers fan, what's going on with Halliburton, I mean, this is his first playoffs in the NBA, right? And he had such a monster season this year, leading the Pacers all the way to the playoffs and a good seed at that. But he has really, really struggled in these playoffs, man. It's over 7 games throughout the playoffs. He has 14 points a game, 9 assists. Still, the playmaking is out of control with it. It's just so good, right? Only 3 turnovers per game, which is a little bit more, but 5 rebounds. He hasn't shot the 3 well, 30% from 3, 42% from the field. You just got to be wondering, is it him? Is it just bad games? I don't know. But for your first playoff, for your best player, for a guy who's really, really reliable and rock solid game to game at that position, you got to wonder what's going on maybe in his head. I'm not accusing anything. I'm not saying he's a fraud. A lot of people were saying that. I disagree. I think, it could just be some growing pains. He's never played in the playoffs before. He's a young guy. I don't know. But either way you look at it, to end this game with 6 points and 8 assists is just not good enough, man. He has to play better as the guy. Only attempting 6 field goals. I mean, you just got to step up, Tyrese. So that is very disappointing. The Pacers had a really good game from almost everyone else. Jalen Brunson absolutely hooped out of his mind once again, putting in another 40-point plus performance in this game. And it's just, it's a Jokic type playoff run that we're seeing from Jalen Brunson. Every season you see one from somebody in the league, and I feel like it's Jalen Brunson this year. He's just taking over the game almost every game, it feels like. So gotta give big props to the Knicks. Dante DiVincenzo was awesome in this game. Josh Hart was awesome in this game. The Knicks just played really, really well across the board. And honestly, you can make a case they just deserve this game, on paper, right? I get I'm critical of the ending too, but I'm just saying it's not like they were bailed out or anything. Like, they played really, really well in this game, and the Pacers did too, but the Knicks really earned this win in a lot of other ways. So props to the Knicks, props to the Pacers. Halliburton's got to get it together. If he plays better, I think the Pacers win the next game. One thing's clear to me, the pace was a real problem, as I predicted in this series prediction video that I did. The Knicks are struggling to get out in transition with the Pacers, and that's really going to be a factor in this series. Now, moving on to the Thunder versus the Mavericks. I talked about this series a lot in some other videos, and I got to be honest, I was pretty disappointed in the Mavericks in this game. The Thunder pretty much dominated and never really lost control of this game. Maybe not dominated, but they were the clear controllers and tone setters in this game, I feel, for the vast majority of it. And much props to them, because they really held Luka and Kyrie to some not so great performances. Luka dropping 19 points, 6 of 19 from the field, 1 of 8 from 3. Just not great from Luka. He's got to be better than that. Kyrie, 7 of 14, pretty good game. I mean, he had 20 points, maybe expect a little bit more. Daniel Gafford played well, but just overall, the two guys, Luka and Kyrie, they're the two guys, man. If the Mavs are going to win this series, those guys got to drop 30 points or close to it each every game, and they just didn't play good enough to win that game. Meanwhile, for the Thunder, something I think I underestimated in my predictions. I'll be the first one to admit when I make something wrong on this channel, and I really didn't account as much as I should have for the athleticism of the Thunder. The Thunder are just clearly the more young and athletic team, and that is a huge factor in this series I see moving forward, and it played out big time in this game. I mean, they were just up and down the floor faster than the Mavs. The Mavs, they can get a little stagnant and, jogging back on defense a lot of times, and the Thunder are just the opposite of that, man. They're gonna eat your lunch if you start doing that. So from the big three of the Thunder, SGA played really, really well, had a great game overall. Jalen, it was a team effort. That's what the Thunder do. They like to spread the floor. They like to get out and run. They like to drive and kick. They like to share the basketball, a lot of ball movement, and they just, they came in there, did their thing, set the tone for this series. And, the Mavericks just didn't deter them enough in their rhythm, in their flow, and in what they want to do. So the Mavericks got to be more physical next game. They got to commit to, running around with these young athletic guys, right? And Luka and Kyrie got to play better offensively. So that's gonna be the key in this series. But the Thunder pretty much dominate this game and control it start to finish. Looked like the better team last night by a lot. And I know the, Mavericks, two guys didn't play as well as they could have, but you got to be worried if you're Dallas, man. That looked really, really good for the Thunder. Not so great for the Mavs. Let's move on to the final game one I want to talk about in this video, and that is the Celtics versus the Cleveland Cavaliers. And a very similar thing to the Thunder and Dallas Mavericks game, where the Celtics just came out and, they were the Celtics, right? They just had the Cavs that whole game pretty much, and they were just, obviously they're the better team. And I talked about, again, I made a very wrong and totally uneducated prediction in my last video about this series, and basically predicted that Jared Allen would be the biggest factor in this series, the only, biggest chance the Cavs have of controlling the inside, and Celtics not being able to keep up with that size and ferocity in the paint. And turns out I didn't even know that Jared Allen is possibly going to miss a lot of time in this series, and missing game one with his rib injury. I should have looked into that more. I apologize for getting that wrong, and I totally was wrong, because I found out yesterday not only is he not going to play in game one, which he didn't, and they could have really used him, by the way, but I also found out they're not even so sure about like game 2 and 3. Like, he's got a real way to go in his progress. So that's my bad on that, and I think it is obviously affecting the Cavaliers in game 1. Look, there's just a clear talent gap in this series, and I would expect that to happen with almost every Boston series. They're just, more talented than almost every team, right? And when Tatum and Brown get going, they commit to taking their opponent seriously. Just good luck, and Boston doesn't have Kristaps Porzingis for, I don't think this entire series they have him, but it didn't look like it mattered last night. You know what I mean? Boston shot 46 3-pointers and made 18 of them. They made 18 threes in this game, just shooting the lights out. You know what I mean? Tatum only had 18 points. He didn't even play his best, right? 7 of 19 from the field, but Derek White and Jaylen Brown were the real heroes of this game for Boston. Jaylen Brown shooting 12 of 18 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3, and putting in 32 points in this game. Amazing performance from him. He played awesome. Derek White was also awesome. That's who you count on. Derek White is the rock of that team. That dude's just an absolute two-way menace and just an awesome basketball player. But the Cavs just looked outclassed, you know what I mean? And while, you can't even point to a lot of bad games. I mean, Mitchell could have shot better, right? He had 33 points, 12 of 25. Darius Garland maybe was a little disappointing, right? But the Cavs only had 5 turnovers in this game. They just really struggled offensively at times. They got a little stagnant. They didn't get enough good shots. They missed a lot of the shots that they had. Boston shot the lights out, like I said, almost 50% from the field, 39 from three with 18 made threes. You got to defend the three-point line better if you're Cleveland. I know Boston's just a great three-point shooting team, but that just can't happen. You know, that gap is really big, especially when Boston had 55 total rebounds. Cleveland had 38 total rebounds. That's just really not going to get it done, especially when you're at a talent deficit. Boston shared the ball well, but again, very low turnover number. They just couldn't get a lot of good shots and struggled defensively to guard the perimeter. You know, it's really affecting them having the Jared Allen injury, in my opinion. He's got to get back soon if the Cavs want to make any noise in this series or even take one game. But to me, Boston Celtics are just going to dominate this series. Again, I said in my video, they're probably going to win in 5, right? The Celtics. So either way you slice it, you know, Celtics were always probably going to win this series, unfortunately for Cleveland fans. But don't feel bad, Cleveland fans, because you are not the only one in the East who has almost no chance or hope to beat a team like Boston in this playoffs, even without Kristaps Porzingis. And like I said, the Knicks Pacers, one of the best series in the second round. It's probably going to be close almost every game, like the Sixers series was. Thing is, the Knicks have Jalen Brunson, who is just dynamite in those close games. So disappointing outcome as far as the officiating. Like I said, I don't think the Knicks were necessarily bailed out, but it's just a disappointing call as a fan to watch, and, you know, kind of take the opportunity out of the Pacers' hands to, you know, steal that game if they were gonna. So Mavs and Thunder, I expect to be kind of a roller coaster. I mean, the Mavs will certainly play better in, you know, certain games in the series, but the big thing for the Mavs, they got to win game 2. You do not want to be going down 2-0 to a better team that already has better legs than you and is younger and more athletic. That's just a recipe for disaster. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys drop a like if you did. I just want to recap these game ones. I love doing these playoff update videos where I just fire on the camera and talk about what I saw last night and the night before and stuff like that. Make sure you guys subscribe. We talk about playoff stuff every single day on this channel. We upload every day. And I just love basketball, man. I want to share, you know, my takes with you guys, even when they're really, really bad and I get stuff wrong like I have been. And I'm just, you know, I am loyal to the game of basketball. It's not about my takes being right. You know, I just want to share my passion and expression with you guys for my admiration for the game. You know, the NBA is a reality drama show. It's amazing. Every single night there's something going on. I want you guys to be a part of it with me. And so let me know down in the comment sections what takes you guys have whenever you can, because I love hearing from you guys. You know, that's why I do this. I want to share my appreciation and love for the game with, you know, like-minded people who appreciate it the same way. So subscribe if you guys haven't already. Drop a like, really helps out the video and helps out the channel. Stay positive, man. No matter what your team's going through, or, you know, not going through anything like my team. We're just, you know, waiting for the offseason to start. But no matter what, I'm sure your team has a great offseason incoming like mine. And if they don't, you know, maybe next season, right? There's always next season. But fandom is the greatest thing in the world. Drop a like, subscribe. Hopefully your favorite team wins their next NBA game, and hopefully your favorite team is one of these teams that lost, because 2-0s are more often than not the end of a season, right? So stay loyal to your team. It'll be worth it. Catch you guys in the next one. This is your boy D Haven. As always, peace.